Welcome back to the Sovah Says podcast, and we're bringing you another great Mount Rushmore Monday list. On today's show, we grab the ball and step on the hill to create our own definitive Mount Rushmore of Major League Baseball pitchers. And to do this, I'll enlist the help of a man who is no stranger to evaluating serious talent, Daniel Jeremiah. From the front office to the main desk, the former NFL scout and current draft guru has an eye for what makes players great in today's ever-evolving world of sports talent. That's why the host of the Move the Sticks podcast is the perfect voice to move our own goalposts and put the perfect list together.
And now I am so happy to be joined by one of my good friends in the industry, Daniel Jeremiah. How are you, brother?
What is up, Jan? How are we doing, my friend?
We're doing good, man. I'm on location today. I'm on remote, coming to you from a beachside location or something.
It's
the
Miami Vice. It's the Miami Vice version of the show today.
Totally. Well, obviously, people are very familiar with your work through the NFL Draft, NFL Network, your experience in the scouting departments around the NFL. But not a lot of people know that you're a diehard San Diego Padres fan. And talk about, I don't want to hear about the pain, but when did you fall in love, and what sort of, stories of happy moments do you have?
Yeah, no, my folks have had season tickets since the early 90s. So that's when, back at Jack Murphy, Qualcomm, that whole environment there. So we were Padre fans even before that growing up. Like one of my earlier memories, I was born in 1977. We were on a vacation, like on a cruise ship in the Caribbean in 1984. So I'm, 7 years old. And that's Steve Garvey, hitting the home run to against the Cubs in the NLCS. Like that was I remember, like, me and my brother were out on the deck, like with a radio, trying to get the game to come in, awesome. on there to try and like catch the game. So that was kind of like that first moment. I had a shirt that said Cub Busters that I would wear because like Ghostbusters was the big movie at that time. So it was like a Cub Busters t-shirt. So that was kind of like some of the early stuff. And then, all through like the late 80s and most of the early 90s, they ended up being good in like 94, 96, 98, 98. They go to the World Series. Those were fun years. But in the 80s, like the 84, once you got beyond that, I remember going to that stadium and we would sit, this is before we had season tickets, and we would sit like on the top shelf, and we would make, just like me and my brother would make paper airplanes out of the program. Everybody gets the program coming in there. You'd make your paper airplanes. And then just the goal was to see if you could get it down to the field, which was like impossible. But you'd watch that thing. And then there were so few people there. Like you could see the usher on the other side of the stadium. Like he saw you. And then like, by the time he gets all the way over here, like we're probably seeing enough baseball anyways. Like we're probably good. We can go ahead and roll out of here. But those were some of the early baseball memories. And obviously, I played baseball as a kid. And all that, and baseball in San Diego, especially like high school baseball and all that's big. So it's a big baseball city.
Awesome. How much more do you love Petco than Murph?
Well, there's the nostalgia of the Murph, but it was so decrepit and fallen down. And Petco is, and I've been to a handful of Major League Baseball stadiums. Camden Yards is awesome. It's a great, Chavez Ravine has like that kind of like an aura to it. As that's a cool spot. I've been to like where the Rockies, I've been in a couple other just randos across the country, but Petco, the combination of the weather you can't beat, the food is incredible. The access flow in and out of there is exceptional. The way they have it set up, and you can get out of there without spending too much time. So I love it. It's a great place to go down there. I get to, I try and get to, maybe I'd say anywhere from 12 to 20 games a year, depending on the schedule, if the schedule allows it. So it's my getaway. Like I am in both worlds with doing Charger games and then NFL Network on the NFL side, and then doing the draft, which is going to allow me to focus on the college football side. That's like, I love it. I'm passionate about it, but it's very much work. Whereas baseball, it's just being a dumb fan, so that's what I enjoy about that.
One of the parts on your on Move the Sticks on the podcast that I love so much is when you talk about how playing different sports is at a young age is beneficial to like some of these young athletes growing up, and how you can sort of benefit from the different movements in some of these different sports that translate for these NFL players, in their adulthood. is there anything based on the conversations, anything you learned just with your own experiences as an athlete, that pitching, I mean, I guess maybe quarterback is the closest thing, but does players who grew up as pitchers, does that help in any way in the NFL?
I think that you can look at the athleticism of playing other positions maybe is more important. You get a center fielder, a shortstop, and all the coordination that comes along with that. But we've also have a history of guys who were pitchers and quarterbacks as well. Like that's usually the tie over. It's natural. You're throwers.
Right.
So we see that a good bit. The challenge is, until this NIL is kind of, I think, going to change some things, but it used to be like, gosh, the baseball money's so crazy, man. Like, a lot of potential starting quarterbacks in college football abandon that dream to go to the MLB draft out of high school because of the money and the potential upside if you do hit once you get to the major leagues. So, but I think there's that the ability to be a stud starting pitcher. Obviously you have to have the arm and the stuff and all that stuff, but there's a bulldog mentality. There's a me against you, mano y mano.
I was going to say the competitive nature.
Yeah. I don't need, there's a lot of, football is dependent. You're dependent on a lot of other players to be successful, no matter what position that you play. If you're a pitcher or a batter in that moment, you don't need anybody else. It's up to you. You can make it happen. And I think you see that with some of the best pitchers. Also, short memory. Hey, bad play, give up a home run, flush it, refocus, dial in. Same thing as if you turn the ball over as a quarterback, you got to be able to move past those moments. And I think we could probably go through a lot of examples of quarterbacks who've failed and flushed out of the league because they were unable to do that. And I'm sure there's plenty of pitchers, with elite stuff that just couldn't, accept the failure that comes along with it.
Right. Well, the reason I asked about pitchers is because you and I have beforehand agreed to do a Mount Rushmore list of Major League Baseball pitchers.
Yeah.
Now, every time we do one of these lists, I always give the guest, it's your list, it's your criteria, however you want to do this. We spoke ahead of time, and I'm going to match your criteria. What was your criteria for making this list?
So this was guys that I was familiar with that I watched. So I did not want to do it from an era in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. That's off video for me. I've been to, and this going back, like I said, to the, even to the late 80s, I've been in a lot of baseball games. I've seen a lot of the pitchers throw live. I've watched a ton of baseball during that, those eras. So when you talked about this list, I'm like, okay, you can nitpick this, that, or the other. Most of these guys, all of them except save one on my list, I've seen pitch live. And I've seen them all, followed the bulk, if not the entirety of their career. So that's how I came up with my list.
Great. So that's how I'll come up with mine. So how we'll do this here is I'll let you unveil a pick, and you can explain why. If they are on my list, then I'll co-sign and we'll talk about that. If not, then I'll let you move on to the next one.
I think we're gonna have significant crossover.
I'm gonna guess. So in doing this, I've only gone 4 for 4 once with the guest.
Really?
And that was the Lakers Mount Rushmore.
Okay.
Last week with the USC was 1 for 4. I'm thinking it's going to be 3 for 4. That's my prediction.
Okay. Yeah, I know that you're going to have one on there that I don't have, and I already know who that person is. So and it might have something to do with the hat that you're wearing. So, but I think we're going to maybe have three. So I'll lead us off with my first one.
Okay.
The first one is, to me, the most boringly dominant pitcher that I've ever seen pitch, and that's Greg Maddux.
100%.
Greg Maddux, and he played for the Padres for a minute at the tail end, but I would go and watch him play all the different teams he came through and played for. I've never seen someone who could elicit weak contact better. And just like, I'm not going to waste my time with you. My favorite thing about him, of all the things that he did, and he was so good at, and you can talk about location, this, that, or the other, is I don't know of another pitcher who, when he had you 0-2, was like, I'm not wasting a pitch. Like, what am I going to throw you? I'm going to see if I can get you to chase. I'm going to put one in the zone that you're not going to be able to do anything with. So I'm not going to waste that pitch. I'm not going to waste your time, my time, the fans' time. This is just get you out of the box and get the next guy up there. But that's how confident and comfortable he was in his style and where he could place a baseball, how he could cut it and move it each way. It was stupid. I mean, if you're listening or watching this and you have not like done your homework or seen it. Just like I'm sure if you put YouTube Greg Maddux nastiest pitches, you'll see a baseball do things you've never seen a baseball do before.
Yeah, I mean, he had the change. He had the two-seamer. I mean, and then a lot of people, if you're not familiar with his game, you don't realize how good of a defensive pitcher
Gold
he
Glove
was.
every year, dude.
18 times.
Yeah.
18-time Gold Glove winner.
That was easy.
And his obviously his nickname, one of his nicknames, the Professor, because he was just outsmart. He was playing 4D chess against people.
Did you see the clip where it was
I really hope you bring up the same.
Javi Lopez?
Yes.
I'll let you tell the story. It's a fantastic story.
So Javi Lopez talks about a moment in the heat of the summer, in the middle of the season, a couple months before playoffs, in a blowout game against the Astros facing Jeff Bagwell at the plate. And he tells Javi before the at-bat, we're not coming inside at all. And so with 2 strikes, he tells Javi, we're changing it. We're going to throw inside. And he throws inside, and Bagwell hits it a mile for a home run. Meaningless game. I think the score was 7-0 at the time. Well, fast forward a couple months later to the playoffs. Bagwell's up in the 8th inning, close game, bases loaded, and Maddux throws 3 straight changeups and strikes him out. And as they're walking off the field, he goes, "Hey," at Javi, and Javi looks at him and goes, "Do you remember that?" And he's like, "I don't know what you're talking about." And he's like, "Do you remember that home run?" He was looking for that fastball on the inside, and Javi was just like, "Oh my God."
He set the bait in the regular season. There's two layers to this, right? There's the normal layer, which is I'm trying to execute my pitch. You beat me on the pitch. So now I'm going to adjust and throw you something different. This is not that. This is, I know the pitch I'm getting ready to throw is going to get hit over the fence. I know that. And I'm going to throw it anyways because I'm going to use that as bait to set him up in a meaningful moment later on. That's insane.
That is insane. It's my favorite baseball reel on the internet right now. I've watched it 1,000 times.
That's so good. And my other favorite Greg Maddux story, because I'll bring it back to my love of the Padres. He gave a great interview and talked about how the whole key to pitching is changing speeds. He's like, you'll see guys with good fastballs, good curveballs. They can throw this, the ball runs, this, that, and the other. He said movement, everybody obsesses over movement. To me, it's the change of speeds because baseball hitting is timing and you can disrupt timing. And trust me, if you change speed and disrupt timing, it will work against everybody. Everybody except that MF or Tony Gwynn. That was his exact quote.
Oh, one of the greatest.
I think Gwynn hit like over 400 off Maddux, Smoltz, and Glavine, and I don't think he struck out.
His strikeout numbers are insane. That's a whole nother show we could do on Tony Gwynn.
All right, so we're 1 for 1 here. Yeah,
we are 1 for 1. So who are we putting up second on the Mount Rushmore of Major League Baseball pitchers? Okay,
the next one for me is Randy Johnson.
Yes.
Did he make the list? Are we 2 for 2?
2 for 2.
Yes. All right. Yeah, and this is a discussion I had with someone in baseball. I was talking to an executive, and I like to keep up with guys, and I have some hockey buddies, some baseball buddies, and obviously know a ton of people in football, but I like to try and, correlate something that we're scouting in football with baseball. And I said, I was looking at a bunch of pass rushers. And so I brought up the point. I said, as a pass rusher, we can see guys that have a lot of different ways to get home, a lot of different moves. And then you'll see other guys who are maybe just dominant speed rusher, dominant power rusher, kind of that one elite thing. Mm-hmm. So I said, if we were to make that an analogy to a pitcher, would you rather have a pitcher with 4 or 5 like different really, really good pitches that he can mix everything up and do that? Or would you rather have one with 1 or 2 dominant pitches? And this GM said, give me Randy Johnson, fastball, slider. That's it. That's it. He didn't need anything else. That was all.
No, he did not.
And just mowed people. And it was just the fear factor. I mean, you can go look up the John Kruk All-Star Game stuff. Is hilarious when he scared him, put his helmet on the other side and switched over to the other side of the plate. But it looked like a very uncomfortable at bat. And I got to see him pitch live, and it looks like he's handing the ball to the catcher. He's 6'10". It's just,
I know,
it's a real loose, whippy arm. And I do think, which is another topic for another day, that the radar guns are juiced up now compared to what it was even when he was playing. You can't tell me anybody's throwing harder than what Randy Johnson was throwing back then.
Yeah, I mean, he's throwing a legitimate 102, on the gun, 100%.
Yeah,
But I mean, yeah. For me, yep. So I mean, co-signing on that one. I mean, a 5-time Cy Young Award winner. I mean, he won 4 in a row at one point, as did Maddox. Second all time in strikeouts, most by any lefty. A World Series MVP. I think we'll always remember him turning a poor bird into particle dust on a pitch. Yeah, the most dominant pitcher of my lifetime, watching the game, and just absolutely scary stuff.
Yeah. And by the way, I should as an aside, I did not put I didn't do Roger Clemens and because of other stuff, but like in terms of talent, he warrants consideration there. I was going to give you one other aside too, because there's different criteria. Believe it or not, the nastiest, and I've been to hundreds of baseball games, the nastiest pitcher I ever saw live, where it was like, nobody can hit this guy. This is untouchable. This is the stupidest stuff I've ever seen in my life. And unfortunately, he's had injuries. But peak Jacob deGrom is I've never seen anything like that. Like it was, and he's just this little, looks like this scrawny, skinny dude out there.
But yeah, a lot like Lincecum.
Yeah, but that was the most electric. Like it might have just been that, and I know obviously he has the numbers to back it up from that season with the Mets. But like seeing that live, I was like, I don't know what do you do with that? I don't even know what you do with that. But anyways, that's
it's too bad injuries have just kind of.
And he was easy triple digits too. Like that was just, the ball just jumped out of his hand. So the next one for me, I'm going to go with the diminutive Pedro Martinez.
3 for 3.
Are we 3 for 3? I know, and I can tell you where we're going to be different on the last two, even after we get to this. But so 3 for 3, Pedro. Again, I just love the fact that somebody forgot to tell him he's, whatever he is, 5'9",
he 110 soaking wet.
Yeah, he handles himself like he's the baddest dude on the planet.
Yeah.
And he's not he's wanting guys to come out and get a piece of him. But just like that, I love the aggression with which he pitched. And you talk about not being afraid to throw inside. He lived inside.
Yeah. Absolutely. Again, a Triple Crown winner, 3-time Cy Young Award winner, the fastball, and then the deadly changeup that he would get people with. Always remember the Don Zimmer moment.
Yeah, snapped him down.
Yeah, it's like the reverse Nolan Ryan, where the old guy came charging this time.
Yeah. That was a great moment. He was involved in so many big stages too, and it didn't always obviously go his way.
Right.
And it was hung out to dry in one of those games. But he was such a competitive guy, and again, I just thought there was such a juxtaposition of how he looked physically and how he played. Like it's just totally different.
I mean, I remember him in his early Dodger career. The Dodgers had his older brother, Ramon Martinez, and Pedro just never got his footing. Ended up getting traded along with John Wetland to the Expos for Delino DeShields, maybe the worst trade in Dodgers history. And then did win a Cy Young with the Expos, but really kind of came completely into his own in Boston and was part of that comeback team, which was crazy. That 2004 Red Sox
pretty
team.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's a great documentary, by the way.
Yeah, I was literally going to say, if you haven't watched a documentary on Netflix, watch that.
It is fantastic. All right, so I'm gonna just tell you who mine is, and I'm gonna tell you who yours is. So the fourth one, you have Clayton Kershaw.
I do.
And I have Mariano Rivera.
Okay, so I literally have had this debate, Rivera or Kershaw, with the final one. And the only reason it's not Rivera is because I just went, you know what? I'm going to go with a starter who, pitches a bulk of a game as opposed to someone who comes out for one. But I completely co-sign Mariano Rivera.
And that was hard for me to do too. It was hard for me to do with Trevor because Trevor Hoffman, I think, is the second best of my lifetime that I saw as a reliever. But the thing that with Mariano Rivera, the reason why I did, and I was down to him and Kershaw. That was my exact same choice. And the reason why, to me, I gave him bonus points because he played in the freaking juiced up portion of baseball with a little league porch in right field in that little ballpark in the best division, where you had the Red Sox every year breathing down your neck like that. And it was the intensity of the baseball that he played, all of the playoffs, the dominance in the World Series, like all of that stuff kind of put together. That's why I was like, I get the starter reliever thing, but what he did was so exceptional, and to do it basically with one pitch on top of that, which is that cutter. Just breaking bats left and right. It was purely dominant against a bunch of roided up dudes in a little league ballpark. So I was like, I got to give him credit for that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll definitely cannot argue with that selection. I mean, he's such a great player, and but for me, I obviously went Clayton Kershaw, the lowest ERA of all time, any pitcher in the modern era. You had the year where he won the Cy Young and the MVP. Obviously, people are going to point to the struggles in the postseason, and they are completely valid. However, I will say that in that World Series against the Astros, which
that one you can defend him on for sure.
That game, that season, he was rolling, and for that to have gone down the way that it did with no swings and misses in that game, that's the biggest reason I couldn't go with Verlander, is because he was a part of that team.
And Verlander and Scherzer were in my others in this conversation.
Yeah. If they were willing to do things like that on offense, who knows what things were happening, but they were helping the pitcher. But yeah, I mean, just the cartoon curveball, the devastating slider.
Still there, both of them.
Yeah, and he's had to reinvent himself, because he's definitely lost a lot off that fastball, and he's been the best pitcher on the team this year.
Which
after
is crazy.
Yamamoto. Yeah,
crazy. Throwing 90 miles an hour, and people can't square him up. I feel like he almost kind of tapped into a little bit of Maddox's vibe.
Definitely.
I'm not. And the thing is, he doesn't really chase strikeouts. He's just, I'm going to put the ball where I know you can't do any damage to it.
He hasn't had a big strikeout game all season, I don't think. I think maybe the most he's had is 6 or something like that. So,
but I can't argue with you. He's got longevity and the starter reliever thing for sure. But I was.
Oh, did you know that he was teammates with Matthew Stafford?
No, I never heard that. It's interesting. I have to check that out. Maybe I'll do some homework on that.
Yeah, maybe someone will tell you that for the 1 millionth time.
That's hilarious. But that, like, I was just thinking, and you could, with all these guys we've talked about, like, I just go back to like the dominance. There was just a dominance to what they did. The other person that it would be in my honorable mention, just again, I'll put my Padre hat on. Kevin Brown, who was like super pissed off. Kevin Brown, before he went to the Dodgers and got the private plane deal in his contract. But I mean, he was intimidating, and he was, lived 97, 98, but just a big physical dude, no undershirt, like just and I don't know what was going on there to look like that, but he was an animal. He was awesome with the Marlins when they won.
The Marlins, yeah. I was gonna say, I think he was Padres, Marlins, Dodgers. Maybe, is that how that?
I always get the order confused on that. Yeah, but it was World Series with the Marlins, and then he was in the World Series. It didn't win it, but he was in the World Series in '98.
Yeah, I think I thought a little bit about Roy Halladay, but just
sad story on him, man.
Very.
What's your do you have a lasting pitching performance memory from a game that you've been at?
From a game that I've been at, God, I've been at some bad pitching games. I don't think I've ever seen like a really good pitching game. Unfortunately.
So I've got mine is not a great pitching day, but it's just a moment that I'll never forget. This is in Qualcomm. There was a guy who went to my dad's church who I believe was a doctor, a retired doctor, a super wealthy guy, but he came to church. He was drunk as a skunk, but came up to my dad after service. My dad used to sit out go to the front of the church after he was done preaching and shake everybody's hand as they would leave, and the guy came up to my dad's. He could really smell the alcohol on him. And it was kind of just a bizarre. And he said, he's just rambled on and thanked my dad. And he said, I can't go to the ball game today, but you can use my tickets. And he gave my dad like 2 tickets to the Padre game. We didn't have season tickets at that time, I believe. So he comes home from church and he's like, I'm tired. I don't want to go to a baseball game, but this is the weirdest encounter. I don't know how good this tickets are or what they are. So I'm like, me and my high school buddy, like, yeah, we'll go. So we go, and the tickets are front row, literally behind home plate.
Oh, wow.
You don't get a better ticket, and this is before they had the little luxury, boxes down below. So your feet are on the railing, and
Wow.
you're front and center. They're the best two tickets. So we go there. Fernando Valenzuela is pitching for the Padres. Okay, this is Fernando, and I'm not kidding you, throwing 85 to 87 miles per hour.
He never threw hard as a Dodger.
85 to 87. Little Mark Lemke for the Braves.
On the Braves.
I'd have to look it up. I don't know that he had 15 career home runs. He took Fernando deep twice in that game. He was this big. It was like watching a little leaguer just squared him up. And I just remember thinking like that. This whole story is so bizarre. We're in the best seats here because somebody's drunk at church that gave away his tickets. And I'm watching a washed up old Fernando Valenzuela against a guy who looks like he can be playing at a 12-year-old little league down the street, hit him deep twice. That's why baseball. You just remember, like, I've been to playoff games, all that kind of stuff, but I always remember that moment.
Well, DJ, I appreciate the conversation. I appreciate the Mount Rushmore, even though we didn't go 4 for 4, but let's see, you're 4, Pedro, Randy, Greg Maddux, and Mariano Rivera. That seems like about as solid a 4 as you could possibly get. DJ, I appreciate your time, man. Thank you so much for joining us.
And in a politically charged environment that we live in, the fact that a Dodger fan and a Padre fan can put our differences aside and just have an enjoyable 30 minutes together,
It's all love.
It's all love because you're kicking our butt. That's why it's all love.
We'll see.
We'll see. Good to see you, buddy.
Yeah, man. You too. See ya.